Bodies of heaven, stiff as a board. Bodies of heaven, stiff as a board.
We are the weirdos, mister.
Black as night, erase death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate, make it right.
I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea. Today is a special Halloween episode of the Cousins Coven podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome to the podcast and happy Halloween.
Yay! This is the Witch's Day. We fucking are so excited for this episode, and I'm just living.
Yes, I'm so excited. We've got so much planned. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah, girl.
We're going to do some massive spells. We'll report back to you when we're done.
Yes. So, like, our Halloween night hasn't started because, of course, we record early so we can edit everything and get it up. But
Yes.
We were talking just before recording, like, how we plan on getting together with a large group of men and women witches, combining their power, combining their energy, and just having a fucking good night. And, like, I hope all of you guys have a great Halloween.
Yes, we are so excited.
So, we've got this veil of the year. I can't even speak. The veil is thinning at this time of year. It's supposed to be like the thinnest, and spirit communication is supposed to be really good. And
Yes.
what has been going on with you? Have you been having any spirits?
Yes.
I know.
Yes. So
Yeah.
much. So it's crazy. So as you guys know, I've been packing and getting ready to move. I think we might have found a place. So this week's been even more crazy stressful because we've been, getting to the last bits of stuff. And I don't know if it's because I've been training so much, speaking with ghosts with you and with my daughter and doing so much more with the spirits. But I feel like my ability from when I was a child is coming back to the way that it used to be.
As in stronger?
Yes. And so I've been dying to tell you how this week has been.
Oh!
So like now I am at the point where when I see the spirits, it's almost like I'm seeing a full apparition.
Mm-hmm.
And so my eyes are now being trained, but their faces are still it's like you're tuning into a TV almost, like those old school TVs when you used to have to really get them the certain direction in order to see the face properly. And so it's kind of like that. So it's like my brain now is seeing the apparition. So the other night I was on the patio, just taking a break from all the dust and cleaning and packing and everything. And I'm sitting there, my daughter's sitting there, and we're just taking some deep breaths and just kind of trying to meditate a little bit. And then all of a sudden, a spirit walked past me right through the glass, and I saw it as a full body, but I couldn't see the face. I could see that the hair was dark. I couldn't see what they were wearing. And it walked in, and I watched it walk across the living room. And then I came inside and watched it walk upstairs. And then that was it. And like, I was like, okay. Like as they were walking up the stairs, I was trying to tune in a little bit closer to see if I could see the face or anything. Like I had said hello to it, but it didn't stop to talk to me. Went up the stairs, and then my daughter and I decided we would sit at the dining table and start just kind of going through some stuff on the table. And we were doing that. And then this was probably about 20 minutes later, the spirit came back down and walked back out the same way it had come in.
Okay.
So I don't know what it was doing. It just walked upstairs and walked back out.
It seems almost like a non-intelligent being in the fact that it wasn't paying attention to you. Like
Right.
It was almost acting like it used to live there.
Maybe, potentially.
I love this. Like, it sounds to me like not even scary, not disturbing or anything. Like they were just going about their business.
Right. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, my ability is coming back. And so I'm hoping that talking it out with you and speaking will allow me to go even further. Because every time I talk about this stuff on podcast, I feel like I get a little bit stronger.
Aww.
I get a little bit stronger. And then, I just keep practicing and honing in, just like any craft that you do, just like witchcraft, just like magic.
And trusting yourself
Yes.
And I think
Hmm.
that like kind of like you're speaking it into existence.
Right.
It's almost as
Hmm.
like you're validating these experiences. And sometimes I love just sharing shit on here because it's like it's going to record that fresh forever, like this memory
Right.
of this experience. It's almost like a virtual journal in a sense, and I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it so much
Hmm.
too.
All your ghost stories will be forever shared.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Well, let's talk about Samhain some more.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So like maybe we have some new listeners out there who are like, you keep saying Samhain. What is Samhain? What is Samhain?
Hmm.
Maybe you've heard of Samhain. You know, that's how it's usually said in Halloween movies. But like, this is the old pagan traditions of Halloween and celebrating the fact that the veil is thin and
Hmm.
connecting with your ancestors. It's very Dia de los Muertos, you know, communicating with the dead, feeding the dead with food, and setting up a plate of offering for them on that night, and putting up their pictures and honoring them. So that is like the quickest, I feel like, explanation for Samhain for anyone who might not be familiar with it. It is the witches' New Year. And I think that's really cool and refreshing, and something that's kind of hard for my brain to comprehend. But every year I get more used to it, looking at it as a new year. But I still look at New Year's Eve as a new year because I'm just so used to our, you know, Gregorian calendar and
Right.
all that.
Right. I'm laughing over here because as you were talking about what Samhain is, I was literally writing
Mm-hmm.
down Witch's New Year. And as I was writing it, you were saying it.
Aww, yes. I've been having so many synchronicities lately. And so, of course, you and I are going to have them because to get together, I feel like that shit amplifies.
Right.
And I just feel like life is really lining up for you, for me, for everybody in your life right now. Like, life is fucking good.
Yeah, it's going well. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I
So
loved
yeah,
your
Samhain.
explanation about Samhain. So I
Yeah.
am super excited. So I wanted to talk about ways that we could celebrate Samhain and not just the things we talk about every year, because this is our third Halloween episode. So we've already kind of talked about some of this stuff, but not all of it. And so I wanted to go just a slightly different direction and talk
Right.
about more than just, honoring our ancestors.
Yeah, which like of course we're gonna do. We encourage it, but as Wendy said, let's not be redundant and let's look into new avenues. So what are you
Yes.
thinking we should start with?
So, I mean, let's go with the basics and do talk about ancestors just for a brief minute.
Hell
Like, I
yeah.
know for us, we love reaching out to our ancestors. So
Yeah.
we can leave them offerings, and you know your ancestors. Maybe you've met them in person, maybe you haven't. And so the ones that you have met in person, maybe you could leave them offerings of things that they liked in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like for us, we've talked about how with our grandfather, he loved yellow roses.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always, if you want to summon grandpa, let's use a yellow rose. Or
Right.
maybe his favorite foods. Like I know he loved ice cream.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And I love just like having the photos as a representation. I feel like that's very magical.
mhm.
An object of theirs, if you still have it. You had just given me like a great grandmother's bracelet, and I was like, oh,
Yes.
that should be on the Samhain altar. Like there's just little ways that you can really carry someone's energy into a space and
Mhm.
invoke them and invoke their spirit and be like, I am honoring you. You are welcome here, and please come here. And like when I've done stuff like that, like I've connected to ancestors I've never even met in person, and I felt their energy.
And it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking it would be fun to you could even write them letters and leave it on the altar.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I have a family member who does that. They'll write letters to a deceased loved one and they put them in a box.
I love it.
And they've expressed to me how like they know when the person's there and reading them and like getting them, and like it's just like I don't think that love has barriers in this sense. Like the human
Right.
connection, I don't feel like has barriers, and time is just an illusion. And it doesn't
Mhm.
matter where each of you are at in your journey of time or what plane you're on. Like, I think that we can still all connect to that energy, and it's really freaking powerful.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading that a really good thing, since this is the witch's new year, that it's also a good time to do like protection circles and protection around your house that would last for longer than just a minute. You know what I mean? Like it
Right.
lasts throughout the year.
Right.
So you
Like
can,
get your defenses up, get your boundaries up.
right. So you can gather on all of the energies of this time period and use that energy to your advantage.
Ooh, like ask your ancestors to help. Like, can you imagine
Exactly.
how cute that'll be when we get together? We should definitely ask the ancestors to protect like this new home and this new space and
Yes.
bless it. You know what I mean?
I'm so excited to hear you say that. That will be
Mm-hmm.
totally amazing.
Right?
I just
Yes.
love it.
Yes.
Oh, that's so
We could all
great.
be standing in a circle and just like having our craft moment with all of these witches.
Yes. Oh my gosh. What do you
Rub my
think?
hands together.
Yes. I thought too that, and I don't know what you would think about this. I thought it would be a good time while you're doing the protection to maybe put a barrier around your property.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like whatever you want to put around, maybe you use black salt around it. Maybe you do it just with your own energy. Um, you can maybe even try to learn a new spell during that time period or push yourself in directions that you didn't think you could go. Just
Okay.
because the energies are so intense during that time. And a lot of witches are doing magic at that time. So I feel like collectively,
Dude, I never thought about
yeah,
that. How collectively all the witches are doing shit that night.
yeah. So
That is
collectively,
beautiful.
we could boost ourselves. Or that's why I love the thought of us doing group magic together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because we're working for a common goal, but
Mm-hmm.
even individually, we can still, you know, use this plentiful time to
That is
really,
so cute. I love
yeah.
that.
So I just think there's so much that you can do. And I was reading too, like, um, we can do shadow work. So maybe you could do a thing where you're doing protection with the shadow work and dealing with all kinds of stuff. And I know for me personally, I've been doing a ton of shadow work during this time period
Fuck yeah,
of
let's burn some
October.
shit on Halloween.
Yeah,
Burn some
exactly.
shit in the cauldron of change. Like I
Yes.
love this idea of like what you're saying, do something new, step outside your comfort zone, because if we're
Mm,
looking at it as a new year, that's such a big tradition. Like new year, new me. Like this is when you set goals, you set intentions, you can change the mood and be like, I want to bring this into my life, but I'm also going to take this out of my life.
right.
So I say we do it all, girl.
Yes. And then also being thankful for all the stuff that's gone through. Because even though
Yes.
Corona, I mean, think of everything that we've dealt with this year: coronavirus, fires, job loss. I mean, the list goes on. We all know that 2020 has been crazy, and
Oh
we don't
yeah.
even know what's to come. But we, instead of looking at these things as a negative, which some of it has been, but it's also pushed us in more positive direction as a society in
Right.
certain ways.
We're fighting more for justice. We're
Right.
clearer as we fight towards these goals, and I
Mhm.
think that it gives an appreciation to what you have and to
Right.
enjoy what you have and this hardships and
Hmm.
reevaluating how we all live because of corona.
Right.
I
And
think
so
there's so much I've learned personally.
exactly, exactly. And so it's like we're doing shadow work as a country, but now now this shadow work and the witch's new year really goes hand in hand. And I think we can really learn from ourselves.
Hmm.
Be thankful for the past and the future and the present. So
Hell yeah. Like there's so
yeah.
much, honestly, like that is like a month's worth of magic in one night. Like you got a
Mhm.
banishing, you got a bringing to you, you got a gratitude, but like you can really fit all of that in a circle of friends. You can do it
Mhm.
solidarity or not solidarity, but solitary. There's
Mhm.
so many ways to celebrate that. And just know that even if you're doing it by yourself, know that witches like me and Wendy are out there and we're shooting positivity and love into the universe with
Yes.
all of the witches who want it. Like when he said, we're all doing magic that night. We are all connected, and it's a beautiful
Yes.
web of magic. And I just think that's so beautiful. Ugh, I love Samhain.
Yes. Imagine what that looks like from space if we were all lit up like little candles.
Right? So cute. So cute.
All the energy. It's
Yeah.
just so amazing. Like, I know for me, I don't even celebrate just for the night. I try to celebrate all day. I take the day
Hmm.
off, and past few years, I've taken the week off as a vacation as a religious holiday for me.
Hmm. It's nice
Um,
that you have the opportunity. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I'm very lucky. But
Hmm.
I totally suggest if you have the time,
Use that
just
PTO, girls. Well,
Yes, use it. Take it.
I tried
Watch.
actually to get it off, and someone else had already requested it, but I'm like off the week after, and I felt the same way. It's like, this is a time for me to feel good. Like, I don't like Thanksgiving. I really hate Christmas. I'm cool with
Mhm.
Yule, but like, it's still sometimes triggering for me. Like, all that Christianity shit really
Mhm.
triggers me because it's like the whole town just gets on this insane commercialism thing. And so for
Right.
me, this is my last little bit of like witchy love and quiet time, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
savor it with my week off. I'll be off the week after you, but we'll have a little bit of overlap, and we're gonna have a great fucking 2 weeks.
Yes, I am really excited.
hmm
Really excited.
I'm sorry I'm cursing so much today. It's just this Halloween enjoyment. My sailor comes out, and it just means I'm happy, guys.
Yes. And I should be telling you guys too that for us it's October 11th, but this is still how excited we
Oh yeah,
are for
oh yeah.
it to come. Yeah. We've
We're
got all
recording
these plans.
early to be on time and not fuck
Yes.
around. And
Yeah.
I am so hyped. Like, I've already been doing my tradition of watching the scary movies, spooky movies. Last night I was
Yes.
watching Creep Show, and I just love, those old practical effects, and I just
Yes.
Oh
I
no, you
told
were
you.
watching old movies. Tell me.
Yeah, I told you I was watching old movies. I kind of mentioned it last week too that I started watching old movies, but now I'm like into the late 50s, early 60s, and I watched like um Attack of the 50-Foot Woman
And you
and
were saying that she was mad because she got cheated on. Is that what that movie's about?
yes. So basically what happens is, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's like 1959, I think, or 58. And so the main character, she's very wealthy and her husband married her for money. And she finds out that he's sleeping with some girl at the bar that he goes to all the time. So they've been going off into a hotel, and the husband is trying to get her committed for being crazy, so that he can run off with this other woman but still have all of his wife's money.
Mm.
And so then what happens is that the woman, she is normally an alcoholic, and she kind of stops drinking, and she goes and she wanders out into the desert in California, and she sees a UFO, and the
Oh
guy
shit! I didn't know.
and the guy puts radiation on her, and she grows into this gigantic, ginormous woman. And as she's coming up from her stupor, because she was like in a coma, they had to sedate her to keep her calm. And so once she's a giant, she's like rips out of her chains, wakes up from her coma kind of induced thing, and was like, "Where's my husband?" And I was like, and she kills him. She kills him in the end.
Oh,
before
shit.
before her ability wears off, she kills her husband. She's like, "No one can have you now." And I'm like, "Good God, lady."
I love the commentary of just like the fear of woman. Like, this movie
Yeah,
is making a statement. Like, when a woman is raged, she's a giant force to be reckoned with.
that's right.
That is so cute. I've never seen the movie, but it's like such an iconic poster, and I
Yeah.
love old cheesy shit. So when you told me you were watching that, I thought that was the cutest thing. I was like, "Oh, Wendy's having a good day."
Yes, it was great. Okay, Samhain. Okay, so let's talk about I'm so sorry. We just love Samhain so much, and we just love horror movies.
I know, like we could go back and forth, I swear.
Yeah, I could do a whole movie podcast, but I'm sure there's millions of them on there.
Right? We tried to stick to the witch. So
Yeah.
Samhain. So one thing that Samhain is great for, and the veil being thin is great for, is it's great for psychic work, and it's gonna boost your
Yes.
ability. So like how you're saying you feel like you're tapping into that ability to see these full body apparitions. Maybe the thinning of the veil, even though it's only the 11th, is playing into that as well. Not saying you won't
Exactly.
have it after the fact, but maybe it's helping your little bunny antennas get a really good reception.
Mm-hmm.
So pay attention to that, guys. How are your abilities changing? Do you feel more open? Turn the on switch on around this
Mm-hmm.
time of the year. Put your feelers out there. Speak to your ancestors. Speak to the ghosts in your home if you're comfortable with that, and try to do some divination. So that could be scrying with a bowl of water, scrying with crystals. That could be tarot cards. Anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. I think divination is a great way to like wrap up maybe your magical circle after you've like done everything with your ancestors, you've, you know, done your stuff, maybe throw some cards and see what they say is coming for you for the next year. You don't know what you're going to see, and that's something I like to do.
Yeah, we usually do that long 1 year reading. So
Yep.
it's like how
12
many
cards.
cards? Yeah, 12
Mhm.
cards, so one for each month. And
Mhm.
I haven't done mine yet this year, but when
Yeah,
I do, usually I save it to do right on Samhain.
right.
Um, but when I do, I think I'm going to add in other cards because we usually limit it to just 12. But now I have all these different decks of Oracle cards. So I was like, what if I keep adding on and see what I can come
You
up
should
with?
just do like for every person. I'm just gonna nominate you. I'm just gonna nominate you to be the reader that night. But we could do
Yeah,
like some mass readings, and it could be really fun.
it would be
It's always
really fun.
I always have like PTSD when I do tarot cards because I've had shit fucking cards for like 2-3 years.
Hmm.
But here I go. I'm always like, it's kind of like you looking through like your hands are covering your eyes. You just look through little slits in your hands. You like watching a
Okay.
scary movie. That's me in tarot cards. Sometimes I'm like, oh god, what am I gonna get? But I'm happy to say that like I feel like my luck's really been turning around and shit is gonna be good for me.
Yes, I
So
knew that was coming.
yeah.
I think we kind of knew that was coming for both of us, but it was like it's so scary because fear of change,
Mhm.
fear of the unknown, and remember those tarot and those oracle cards are trying to show you things that maybe you don't want to know about.
Right.
So
They're
it
showing
might be
you the
for you.
shadows sometimes and
Mhm.
maybe warning you. And so sometimes even when you get a scary card, try not to cling to that because you might create that scary outcome, but maybe
Right.
just maybe use some extra protection or be a little
Mhm.
cautious. And I have to remind myself that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's a good time too to use that spirit board. Did we talk about that at
Not
all?
yet. No. Let's like
Okay.
the Ouija board and spirit
Yeah.
board, yeah. Which
And
has such bad associations. I feel
right.
like so many people fear the Ouija, and then there's
Mhm.
also this other side that like yearns to use it, like is called to use it. And
Right.
I think it's awesome. Like my nephews are so called. They are keep bugging me. They're like, "Can we go to the graveyard by my house? Can we go to the park and use the Ouija board?" And I'm like, "No, you're like a child and you have no idea how like this works." And I don't feel like being that witchy and right now and getting you in trouble, but I feel like if you're smart with the Ouija board, it's just a tool and
Mhm.
you're just talking to people on the other side, and it's not this scary demonic thing that Christians have built up. Like I feel like fear of spirits, fear of these demons, it's all just Christianity trying to control people and control their minds and put them in a box.
It's also been portrayed that way in movies, I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like. Like we see a lot of horror movies where, oh, it unleashed a demon. I'm like, okay. In reality, I mean, yeah, that's good fun to watch on TV, but in reality, it's not like that. Sometimes you don't even get anything that happens.
Oh yeah, it's way more subtle than that. And
Yeah.
if you're interested in seeing how Wendy and I do Ouija, we have recently recorded an episode where
Mhm.
we do that for our Patreon.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't always get what you expect, and that's just part of the Ouija. But you're definitely not going to be talking to Captain Howdy and summoning some demon like in The Exorcist or becoming possessed.
Right.
um I really don't think that that's how it's worked. I guess there are people who have had negative experiences playing with them, and like I've heard all these horror stories of people like playing with the spirit boards and trying to throw them away and then they come back, and it's just like I think it's just really over dramatic. It's the goddamn alphabet, okay?
Yeah.
Something that's all over classroom walls and all over our children's walls. It's just all of a sudden it's add a yes and a no and it becomes terrifying.
Yeah, I think that it's just another tool that we can use. And I feel like if you're open to the tool, it's a good thing. If you're not, then that's your choice,
Yeah,
you
no
know?
pressure, obviously. It's not
Yeah,
for everyone. Talking to ghosts, talking to spirits, being a witch, it is not the way for everyone. And
right.
that's what I love about this podcast. Like, we don't make it for everyone. We make it for you witches and you weirdos. And so I
Yeah.
probably didn't need to put a disclosure about Ouija boards, but I keep always hearing these voices in my head where people be like, Sharon, you got to explain everything on the podcast because we don't all know. That's my mom and my
It's
sister in
true.
my head. So,
It's
Yeah.
true. Uh, it's funny because I don't really have very many people who listen to this episode on my side, so I
Mhm.
don't really have
It's only
any
family who
feedback.
loves to critique you and listening to it for like a minute, they'll be like, you really should do this. And I'm like, shush. It's
Yeah.
our show, not your show.
Oh, it's
I
hilarious.
love you guys though.
Yes.
So yeah, Ouija boards, I think it's really fun to do on Halloween. I kind of would get adrenaline rushes from using them as a kid for sure.
Mhm.
Not have never seeing ghosts like you, never getting a rush from that kind of experience, hardly having any hauntings experience as a kid. So really I had to seek it out. And so playing with Ouija boards was one of the few times I felt like I was getting affirmations that
Mhm.
yes, there is an afterlife. Yes, ghosts exist. And yes, you have the power to communicate with them and be a
Right.
badass necromancer. And I love that. I love experimenting with the other side and knowing that I'm not moving the planchette, knowing my friends aren't moving the planchette, like just seeing it move is a really cool, exhilarating
Mhm.
experience.
Yeah, which we actually, I mean, last week on our episode, how did you feel about that session?
I felt a little disappointed that I wasn't getting like immediate results that I'm asking for. But as a witch, I know that you don't get what you're asking for right away. You have to be patient. But I was
Hmm.
very impressed with the speed at which we were getting answers and the speed at which the planchette was moving. I think that was the fastest that the planchettes ever moved for me, and I'm going to credit that to you. And working with you because you're very psychic, you have a lot of awesome natural abilities, and most people
Hmm.
I work with, I'm like, "Hey, we're doing this thing. I need your energy." Like I'm like
Yeah,
making them do this with me.
right,
Whereas with you, like you're a really, really awesome partner. So it's like I'm getting more quicker results, is what I want to say, because of you.
right. That's awesome. So
Mhm.
just imagine if we added more people who were in like-mindedness.
Yeah, like even having
Um,
people in that circle, I think helps, and having
hmm.
someone to write answers really helps. Um,
Yes.
I think that people just watching is cool.
Hmm.
Feeds into the energy and the vibes.
Yeah, for sure. I like that.
How did you feel
Yes.
about it?
I liked it. I mean, it's very comparable to sessions that I've had with my daughter.
Hmm.
Sometimes you get jumbled up answers,
Yep.
responses, so you have to decipher. But I think that's just the connection. Like it's a bad telephone.
Oh yeah, and like, how can I expect this like perfect text message results from the other side? Like,
Right.
I don't boast to be a medium. I I a petty dabbler is what I should really call myself when it comes to being a medium because I want so badly to get clear messages from ghosts, but
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, it's not perfectly clear all the time.
Right. And so you just have to kind of read between the lines.
And be careful
Um,
on how you word questions. That might be
yes.
something like it's I would say for me personally, when I would start, I used to not know what the frack to ask. I'd be like, wait, what do I say?
Hmm.
What do I ask next? So the more you do it, the more comfortable you get just like riffing questions, but you have to
Hmm.
make sure you're actually wording them to either be super specific with a word that they can spell easily or just go straight for yes, no questions and not ask more than
Hmm.
one question at a time because that always
Right.
happens. It's inevitable.
And also, if you don't get a response like right away, wait
Hmm.
just a little bit because there's sometimes a warming up period.
Oh, yeah.
So it depends on how you've done it. Like for us, when we did it, we actually cast a circle first,
Hmm.
and we lit candles and incense and did it almost ritualistically.
Yeah, called
And
upon some
so,
guardian angels
yes,
and all that.
yeah. So it was a magic experience as much as it was a Ouija experience for me.
Mhm.
So I loved that. I don't think I'd ever done a full on magic with it. So that was
Yay!
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it can definitely be easily incorporated into witchcraft type
Yeah.
situations, and like
Mhm.
you could make it a high ceremonial thing if you really
Mhm.
wanted to and go full blown with your ritual and
Right.
call the quarters and call your guardians and all that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I love
Yeah.
that idea of having the altar and having like something for the spirits to have like an offering to them while you do Ouija. That way, like they say that the spirits need energy, right? So let's say you
Yeah.
put a little glass of wine or a little something something so that they can feed off the energy.
Hmm.
I think you and I just kind of offered our own physical energy, which I don't always recommend to everybody, especially if you're new. Feel free to
Right.
like have a physical thing for them to feed off of.
Right. So years ago, when I would offer up my physical energy, I would get sick afterwards. This
Mm-hmm.
was the first time I didn't get sick after doing it. So
Cool.
I feel like maybe I've built up an immunity.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it was good.
And I was offering mine too. I don't know if normally you have more than one people doing that, so maybe that helped.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't.
You're right.
Sometimes I get my adult children to do it
Yeah.
with me.
I love that you
So
have to like remember they're adults, guys.
yeah, they're adults. My children are not 2 years old.
I
They're old enough to buy
have a
alcohol.
yeah. I have a problem with that. I'm sure you would too, like offering your
Yeah.
children's energy to random
Yes.
spirits.
Right.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think that the more we do that, the more we'll find our groove.
Right. Right. I just feel like I've really been reflecting back at last year and the year before and even the year before that and
Mm-hmm.
seeing just how far I've come and how more I feel like my true, authentic, original self. So
Aw, me
it just is,
too.
it just feels so good to just be me. And
Yes.
I even broke down and told my dad finally that we have a podcast, not witch stuff, but
Oh
that we
my
have
god,
a podcast.
no! That's so cool. Like I don't
Yes.
even know how you could get around what it's about, but I guess you could just say we talk about Bigfoot and we talk about ghosts. Like, what did you say? How did you say it? Oh my god, tell me everything.
So it was crazy because we were sitting down and he was talking to me about something that was going on in the world. I think it was about global warming.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started talking about something and I just spat off some sort of conspiracy theory. And he's like, but I not just did I talk about the conspiracy theory of global warming, I like went into detail with him as if I was on the podcast.
Yeah, you went to fucking co-host mode or
Yeah,
host mode.
exactly. And
Mhm.
so I was just like, wait, I just spit that all out. And then I had to reel myself back in because I started feeling self-conscious. And then I just was like, no, fight that self-consciousness. And then I
Right.
just went straight for it. And then afterwards, he was like, how do you know all this stuff? He's like, you're more of a conspiracy theorist than I am. I was like,
Aw.
oh. I was like, first of all, I'm flattered.
Aw.
Second of all, Sharon and I have a podcast. And he was like,
What
wait,
the
what?
podcast? Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to tell him, I was like, like a radio show.
Oh, what did he say?
He was like, okay. I'm sure he'll forget because he's a little bit forgetful sometimes.
I was
So,
gonna say,
when I
like, what does he think it's about? That way I know.
well, I told him we talked about all things paranormal.
Cool.
So I said UFOs,
Great.
ghosts,
Gotcha.
Bigfoot, and he
Yes.
was like, okay, all the things that we all believe in. Yeah.
He's gonna be like, can I listen to it? And it's just gonna be like, we gotta find him one episode that we're not embarrassed of.
Right? I was like, I don't need him to know everything. So
We're gonna
I'm
make
not
our
gonna
own
give him the link.
separate podcast link just for parents now that we give to family members.
Yeah.
Where I'm a good pious woman.
I was like, I don't think he'll ever listen,
Good.
which is fine by me, but
yeah,
you
no,
know.
that's a big, huge fucking step. Like some people
Yeah.
might not understand, but it can be really hard for us to be really open about all the things we're into. And you know,
Mhm.
I'm sure our listeners do understand when you're into the occult, the paranormal, the weird, like you either get it or you don't. And so it's always a little scary to be vulnerable, but it's so
Right.
worth it. Like the more open you are, from my experience, the more open I've been, I've just kept meeting like-minded people and kept falling into the right places where I need to be with the people I need to be. And I opened them up, they opened me up, and like together we're encouraging each other to keep shining.
Right.
And it's just like the
Yes.
more you tell each other to shine, like you're literally gonna just shine brighter. And it sounds so
Yeah.
cheesy, but it's so true. Like I literally found another person at work who's doing witchcraft, and I just was like, we talked about how we read runes, and I was so impressed.
Yes, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I'm just like, I'm constantly amazed by how many people know a person in their family or is that person in their family doing witchcraft, reading runes, doing
Right.
divination, whatever it is that they want to label it as. It's
Mhm.
everywhere, guys. It's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Like we didn't even know You and I didn't know that we had
No,
these kind of beliefs.
no.
And now look at us.
Because we go into these family functions, we try to remain normal, blend in with the Christians, not speak out because that person will think you're weird or that person will think you're weird. But once we like shift through that fear and just be
Mhm.
your authentic self, you're going to like attract more authenticity and attract the people who are like-minded. And like, it's really been working for me, guys. The more I talk on this podcast, the more my life reflects the right kind of people. And it's awesome.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, it's always been about fear of rejection,
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
and just self-consciousness. Like am I saying things in the right manner? And I think this podcast has really helped me to be able to talk to other people more genuinely.
Yes.
And so that's been really nice
I
and
know.
refreshing. And now, like, I mean, I imagine this is how a lot of people feel. Like you were saying, this is how a lot of people feel. They're like, should I tell anybody else? Should I even tell my sister that I'm a witch? Like,
Right.
should I even tell my best friend? Like, I regret now. I'm starting to forgive myself and do shadow work about it, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm regretting now not talking to my best friend before she passed away about this kind of stuff, because I think she would have been more open than I gave her credit for.
Oh, I'm sure. She probably would have been like, sign
Yeah.
me up. Who knows?
Right.
And like you said, it's good that you're forgiving yourself for that because that's really important.
Yeah.
Because when someone passes, you don't get the opportunity to talk it out with them and get that closure. You have
Right.
to make time to give that closure to yourself. And that's work.
Right. Absolutely. So I was wondering if you would like to talk about some deities that we can to give credit to this year on Samhain.
Yeah. Okay. So, like some dark gods and goddesses and things like
Yes.
that. Good for
Yes.
this time of year. Yes. So, please give me some gods and goddesses.
Okay, so I wrote down 3, 6, 7 different gods and goddesses that are great to worship on Samhain. And what I'm going to do is just kind of briefly talk about them and then kind of tell you some things that you can do for offerings.
I love that. Like, I feel like for me as a pagan woman, I am open to working with all the energies and all the gods and all the deities, but there's
Yes.
so many. And
Yes.
you want to know about them before you work with them because it's a big deal. And so this
Right.
really will help me and other people, I feel like, be introduced to possibly some new ideas and
Mhm.
encourage people not to be afraid to look into gods and goddesses as can you hear my freaking family in the background?
Yes.
Holy moly. I have a brother playing Overwatch, and you know that shit's exciting, and there's a new Halloween thing coming out, so he's just hyping up over Overwatch, guys. Sorry.
It's okay.
But that's life, and we are going to continue on. And so, yeah, I think
Yes.
this is going to be good for me too, and good for the listeners. Like, give us some inspiration on gods to work with.
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you about it. As I find every time I do god and goddess work, or research, I should say, is that I find so many similarities to where I'm like, was this just one entity?
Mm-hmm. I can get
Just
that.
one individual? And we've made it to be all these different ones depending on where we're coming from.
Like a shared consciousness throughout humanity almost.
Right. So different countries, even though they had no way or no knowledge maybe of each other, they came up with the same type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one on my list is Hecate.
Yeah.
And so for anybody who doesn't know who they are, this is a goddess that goes between the worlds of the living and the dead. So she's badass. Like, just her personification. Every time I hear about her, I'm just like, she's a goddess of empowerment with the dead. So I love her.
Yeah, she's the goddess of the witches, and she's great at all that shit. So I love her.
Good. And I'm sure that there are tons of witches who have worked with her before. So I just want to say that some offerings, if you don't know, could be wine, honey, cheese. She likes cake. I mean, who doesn't?
Right.
Peppermint, bay leaves, bark, and musk oil. And what I was kind of reading is that some things that you could do is maybe make your own incense or mix that stuff into a candle or make a potion, mix things together. So like if it were me, I'd be mixing honey, peppermint, maybe some musk oil and bay leaves all together, and maybe putting it in the cake and then leaving it out on my altar for her to just devour it in.
I love that.
So I was like, I just could imagine doing all these great things for her.
She's like the one goddess I've really been working with lately. For some reason, like when it comes to gods, I've found gods a lot easier, and goddesses don't come to me as naturally. I'm not sure what shadow work I need to do to unlock that divine femininity, but she's this one goddess that like I've really held on to, being the goddess of the witches and the goddess of the underworld, like I mentioned, and like
Mm-hmm.
she's known for being associated with crossroads. And so like
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to actual crossroads and like light shit on fire and do witchcraft on crossroads, and it's always a little bit nerve-wracking because I've it never fails. There's always someone in their yard while I'm doing it, but I'm just like, no cause anyone to look at me. I'm invisible, and I do my shit real quick and I do offerings for her. I feel like she's really powerful. She's also associated with like keys. So if you ever collect like skeleton keys,
Yes.
it's like good for her. She's associated with like black dogs and snakes and the
Mm-hmm.
triple goddess. So a lot of times when you see artwork, she'll have the three heads, and I just love all of that symbolism and her power. And she's definitely a dark goddess. And if you want to commune with the dead, I feel like she can protect you. If you need change, she can protect you, and she'll
Mm-hmm.
take care of you.
She could help you make that protection circle around your house or yourself or anything that you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that she would be good for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
She's just a badass lady.
Yeah, bad bitch.
So my next one is Hermes. Hermes is the god of travel between the two worlds, but also in Greek mythology, he's the messenger of the gods. So I thought it would be cool if you wrote to him. So because he is a messenger kind of between the worlds, you could say, this is who I would like to talk to, and write it down.
Oh my god, or even like messages to different gods.
Exactly. So you could write it on like a bay leaf and burn that. So I just thought that would be so cool. And I don't know a whole lot about Hermes, but I just loved that thought, to know that he's a messenger. He would appreciate written word.
I like associate Hermes with the movie Hercules, and how like Hermes is in the movie. He's like this funny little blue character, and he has like little wings on his ankles from his shoes, and he'll fly around. And so like I don't know his legends that well. I know the Disney Hermes. So
Right. That's great. I did find something really cool that he loves the number 4, 8, and 10.
Okay.
So I thought too that some of the offerings you could do is like he loves strawberries, so you could maybe do 4 strawberries. He loves almonds, maybe you could do 8 almonds. He loves like honey and wine kind of mixed together.
Okay.
So maybe you could put honey into the wine. He loves absinthe, which I thought you could check out of.
Yes. I had just tried absinthe for the first time recently. So that's why she's mentioning that. It's like tastes like black licorice, and I had no idea. So if you've tried Jaeger, I feel like it's similar to that profile and taste. Expensive shit. I don't know if I want to be giving that to her. You have to really like Hermes to share.
Right. But maybe you take the knockoff. We could get some Jaeger. Moon water. He really loves moon water. Tobacco. So you could just like put the tobacco on a little plate or something, drizzle it with some vanilla because he loves the scent of vanilla. So you could put some vanilla oil in it. And as far as like incense goes, he really loves dragon's blood, and I'm sorry, I can't talk. Dragon's blood and nag champa.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's another synchronicity. I have been using a lot of that lately.
Me too. That's what's so crazy. I was like, I just burned that yesterday, so I had no clue.
Yeah, same. It's such a good smell. Like I'm actually really loving that smell.
So just love that. Next one is Hades. So I feel like Hades is kind of the ruler of the underworld in Greek mythology. I found something really interesting that when you're summoning him, there's so many different ways that you can do it. But one of the ones that I just loved the most was that you would dramatically fall to your knees. This is just so dramatic Pisces of me. You would fall to your knees and then put slap one hand, like maybe your left hand, down onto the ground, and then with your right fist just pound 3 times and call his name. And I was like, what the heck? That sounds like something I'd do. Dramatic.
Yeah, like get theatrical with it. Why
Yes.
not?
Yeah. And it was like, you have to do it in dirt. You can't just do it like on
Oh.
pavement or in the house. It has to be like on dirt. So some people
Soil.
said, yeah, soil. So some people said, do it in the graveyard and he will come.
Nice. Dude,
Yeah.
that is really cool. So what would people work with Hades for as the god of the underworld?
So I guess Hades is good for work, for asking help. So you would ask him for anything that you want to work with, but usually you're in desperate situations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I guess too, it says that when you want to get in contact with him, you want to connect with the earth. So maybe you would want to connect. I guess that's another reason why they said to kind of work with him in the outdoors, in dirt and that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Because
Yeah.
then you can ask for help. But I think that he would help you with anything. I feel like that's true with most gods and goddesses, that they will help you with anything, but some of them just have a specialty. So maybe with his specialty, he would deal with getting you and connected with your loved ones. But I'm not going to say that because he's a little bit more than that. He's not like an usher between the worlds. He's not that kind of god. He's just the ruler, like he rules there. So maybe you'd have to do a twofold and work with 2 gods. So maybe you'd work with Hermes and Hades at the same time.
Yeah. I think that would be smart. Kind of like a little boost.
I mean, why not? 2 gods. So when you want to summon Hades, some good offerings are mint, garnet, amber, the colors of black, gold, and silver, and red, and also pomegranate and some sorts of red fruits and black fruits and that kind of thing.
That's cool. I always see like pomegranate imagery in the tarot cards, like the Rider-Waite cards. So I think of them as a very occult symbol and like sacred fruit. So that's badass.
I love it. Yeah, so that's all I really had on Hades. I wish I would have done more research. I guess I didn't give him very good credit, but another day.
That's a good start. Like if people want to know more, they'll go find out more. So don't worry about it. Who's your next one?
So I have Santa Muerte, which we talked about on our death episode.
We did, yeah.
And so what was really cool is this time when I was searching Santa Muerte, like I was really looking into offerings. And I guess I'll say, if you didn't listen to that episode, this is just kind of Lady Death. So she's the one that they use in all the sugar skulls in Mexico and Hispanic culture. And, you know, just those sugar skulls, Day of the Dead kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, I found this website where people are trying to gather all the worshipers of her so that she can be worshipped year round. And I don't know if you remember, but when I talked about Santa Muerte before, there was this kind of up in the air thing about religious experience or religions wanting to take Santa Muerte out of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this website called internationalsantamuerte.com, and it says right on their website that they wanted to gather as many people and believers so that they could worship as a group. And I thought that was pretty amazing. I was like, every god and goddess should have that.
They should. And like, I've heard people who I've known personally, when that goddess is brought up, fear related to horrible, dark fucking rituals related to gangs, like you mentioned to me. And I'm a Pan worshiper, so I just am always like, you know what? It's not the fucking goddess's fault that it's been twisted. It's an ancient fucking thing that came before humanity corrupted it and twisted it. So now Pan is the devil. No, I'm not going to let other people tell me what's like right and wrong all the time anymore. That's part of being a witch. And my barometer is with my fucking heart and what feels right, not by some person's book. And so like, it might sound scary that we're saying like these gods to some people might sound a little intimidating. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But like, don't have shame in worshiping these gods if they're for you. I had so much shame in worshiping Pan that I didn't even talk about on this podcast for forever.
for a very long time.
Yeah, I mention it here and there, you know. So I get it, and I understand that there might be a fear with that culture, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you guys have to really look and see when did that start changing? You know, what religion came in and started crucifying all these gods?
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's just along the same lines of things that I think about. I'm like, where exactly did religion's path change? Why did we stop believing all these gods?
Yeah, and why does it have to be one god? That's the most boring shit I've ever heard. Sorry.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So let's say that Santa Muerte, if you want to give her an offering, it would be like apples. She really likes beer.
Oh, cool.
She loves black and blue candles. Bones, which I know is intimidating, but I've always wanted to do bones.
Like animal
magic.
bones and stuff?
Yeah, I found one in my front yard that I think an animal left as an offering or something left as an offering.
Yeah.
And I've been keeping it in my windowsill where I keep all my fairy stuff. So I was like, I love that she takes bones.
I could see you like throwing the bones in the future and doing divination.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Oh my gosh, yes. She also likes honey and tequila, which by the way goes good together, and sage.
Nice.
Yeah. But that website was really cool. So if you are interested in her, like I know that there was tons of stuff on there that talked about her inside and out. And I didn't even know that existed. I wish I had found that earlier.
Right.
Like on our last episode.
That's what I kind of love about learning about deities is there's so much there. You really can't learn it all in one sitting. Like you really get to experience that god, work with that god, form a relationship with them, and research them at the same time. And it like starts just unveiling this whole new appreciation for something.
Right. Yeah. I think that can be said about a lot.
Right.
Everything. Yeah. My next god is Anubis, and we've talked about Anubis before on our Egyptian magic episode, but if you don't know, Anubis is the Egyptian god who ushers people to the other side. And Anubis has that black jackal head. So Anubis really loves the colors black and gold. That means like obsidian, labradorite. I always get that wrong.
Labradorite. Yeah, that's so cool that you're mentioning that. I just gifted that to a Libra because apparently that's really good for Libras. And it'll help balance them out.
That's so great. And then hematite, and they really love sandalwood, cedarwood, dark beer, and rye bread.
Nice.
So I was like, make Anubis a sandwich and a beer.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Get that guy a dark beer.
Yeah. And then the next one is Osiris, and Osiris is the god of the underworld. So kind of just like I was talking about Hades. Hades in Greek mythology is the ruler of the underworld, but in Egyptian, it's Osiris.
Almost one and the same, right?
Almost one and the same, except for Osiris likes different things. So the Osiris really likes black dirt. So like the darkest dirt that you can possibly find. Black salt, wheat bread, beer, red meat, pepper, cinnamon, cedar, and lotus.
That is so cool.
And then I have one more, and it's not really a god or a goddess. It's an angel. Of course, I have to bring angels because, angels are my jam. But it's Azrael. So I was really excited to learn a little bit about Azrael because he's on my list of angels to contact with my Enochian magic. So haven't talked to him yet. He's the angel of death. And so I did not know that. And so I'm excited, like one day, just kind of reading the little blips and blurbs I did on Azrael. I was like, oh my gosh, so I see this in my future, Azrael. I'm going to get to know you really well. But I know that Azrael's offerings are colors of red because for some reason he really likes the color red. And I didn't know if that had to do with something with like, when you're thinking about death, what are the colors we think about, like reds and blacks and golds, maybe.
Yeah.
So that, and then he loves basil, fern, ruby, tiger's eye, and pine.
Nice.
And so I feel like spells that you would do are really going to be for all of these gods and goddesses, whatever you want them to be. Just learning about these is just to open your mind up to the possibility of something other than what you're used to understanding. It's just expanding your knowledge.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
I love that. And I imagine that each of these gods is like a guardian of the dead. They aren't trapping them or stealing their souls. Like they're literally just like helping souls cross over. And like, that's just a really cool idea. And I like that. Like an angel of death, that is so badass.
Right. And I just think that they're all probably partying in the underworld in their own little way.
Yeah. Party of the dead.
Yay. So yeah, that's what Samhain is.
Yes. Honor those ancestors, honor yourself, prepare yourself for the witch's new year. And like, just, I think it's a good night to have some quiet time. I mean, maybe you're even raging and partying, you know, how Halloween is pre-Rona, you know, maybe you're at a Halloween party dressed up and just having a good escapist kind of night. That's what you need. But like Halloween, Samhain, whatever you want to call it, I feel like it's always going to be a good time. It's a good time.
It's a good time. So do that magic.
Heck yeah.
And if you want to share any with us, let us know. We would love to hear your stories.
Yes, that is so good. Should we wrap it up for this Halloween episode?
Yes. So I do want to say one thing, that next week we won't have a main episode, but we will still have an after show. So if you are a Patreon follower or want to become a Patreon follower, just hop on over there and take a listen.
Awesome.
So yeah, otherwise we'll see you the week after that, where we're going to have a special guest episode. And I'm so excited because we haven't had one of those in a long time.
Yeah, it's probably been like a year. So we'll have another person on podcast, where maybe two. We'll see how it goes, guys. Hope you have a great, safe Samhain Halloween. Don't forget to send in your messages to cousinscoven2@gmail.com. And all of our links for our merch, the Patreon, will be found below. We love you guys and enjoy this witch's new year.
Have a lovely, fun time. And may you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and join each other. Blessings to all.